In this presentation, we're going to focus on quality issues, but from a very different perspective. From the start, I don't want to put you in a kind of a test, but I have a question. Here, I put 4 vials of vaccine from 4 different manufacturers. It's a diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis vaccine. Which one do you think better? Can answer? You need more information? All right, I put the labels on. Now you see the first one is from Australia, the second one is from Indonesia, the third one is from France, and the last one is from India. Which one is better? I can tell you one thing, that all these vials from 4 different manufacturers meet the same quality standards, and they are all World Health Organization pre-qualified. It's a program that ensures quality for the United Nations procurement agencies. But I want to take you outside of the vial. The quality issues that takes place outside the vial. Because we have to think not inside, we have to think outside the vial. There are so many factors that affect quality of the vaccine. Yes, we know it is ensured by the manufacturing process, but we have to preserve this quality until these vials reach to the end user. In this presentation, we're going to speak 2 things. The first one is science. We all believe in science, right? So I'll be giving you examples from scientific studies, all published in peer-reviewed journals. Secondly, we're going to discuss the rights of the child issue. Think about yourself and think about your families, your child, your children. We do not have the chance of choosing our mothers and fathers. My child was born to me in a country where it was possible for her to receive birth dose hepatitis B vaccine. Think about a child born in the middle of nowhere, no electricity, no other services. That girl or that boy also has the same rights as my daughter, as your son, to receive the birth dose of hepatitis B. So we will also focus on these issues in this presentation. Now let's move to the scientific studies. Again, all from peer-reviewed journals. The very first one comes from China, Hunan province, and it was a randomized clinical trial that had 3 groups. The first one, the vaccines were kept at hospital refrigerators, and newborns were vaccinated with hepatitis B at this hospital. So vaccines from cold chain. The second group received vaccines with auto-disabled syringes kept at midwives' stations out of cold chain for about a month. And the third group, similar setting, but with Uniject, a special device to give the hepatitis B vaccine, again kept out of cold chain. When the serological studies were conducted, it was seen that all these 3 groups didn't have any difference in terms of seroconversion rates. So the vaccines that were kept out of cold chain had the same level of seroconversion compared to the vaccines given from the vaccines that were kept in the cold chain. One of the biggest criticism in scientific studies is the repeatability. You have to show that the same results can be repeated in other settings, not necessarily by the same team, by a different team. So here are a series of studies, exactly the same design, that was repeated in, this time, Bali, Indonesia. Same design, same study. Results confirmed the findings from China. No seroconversion difference between the groups. Another group did another study with a bit of different design in Indonesia. This time vaccines were kept between 25 to 32 degrees centigrade at midwives' homes for about a month. And they did the potency testing as well this time. And they discovered 1% potency loss when they kept these vaccines out of cold chain for about a month. But when they did the seroconversion studies, there was no statistically significant difference between this group and the group that the vaccines were coming from the cold chain. There was a very interesting study in Vietnam, again using two groups. One group receiving vaccines kept in cold chain, the second group receiving vaccines kept outside of the cold chain. Interestingly, when they look at the seroconversion levels, protective antibody levels, the group that were vaccinated from vaccines kept at cold chain created 86% protectivity, while vaccines kept out of cold chain resulted in 92%. So we start thinking, what made this difference? You expect that vaccines kept in the cold chain would work better than the vaccines kept outside of the cold chain. Of course, the study was not designed to look into these questions, but we can make a speculation. Most likely, vaccines that were kept in the cold chain were exposed to freezing. This is how hepatitis B may lose its potency and may not be effective. World Health Organization and UNICEF in 2007, when it was the 10th year anniversary of vaccine vial monitor introduction, issued a policy document, a joint statement. In this joint statement, World Health Organization and UNICEF defines the conditions that vaccines may be kept outside the cold chain. So these are national immunization days. The second one is hard to reach geographical areas. Birth dose vaccination, like in the hepatitis B case, where vaccines are provided at home. Cool seasons. And the last one, when the freezing risk of freeze-sensitive vaccines are too great, then WHO and UNICEF suggest that vaccines may be taken outside with the help of VVM to be exposed to higher temperatures, because you can monitor this heat exposure with VVM because there is no cold and there is no risk of freezing. Even VVMs are designed as heat indicators. With the help of VVMs, when you move the vaccines outside of the cold chain, you remove the risk of freezing and you just monitor the heat exposure. I strongly recommend this book to you. It's called Access, written by Frost and Rich. It analyzes 7 different health technologies that changed people's lives, one being the vaccine vial monitor. I also want to take you to 2006, to a very sad moment in Indonesia. There was an earthquake that, especially in Yogyakarta region, it ruined a lot of health centers, in addition to the houses and other buildings as well. After some weeks, when they were cleaning the rubble, they reached in one of the health centers' immunization room, where an immunization refrigerator was totally under the rubble. When they opened the fridge, they reached the vaccines. Most of them were not broken. So BCG vaccine didn't have any VVM. So they discarded these vials. OPV vials, polio vaccine, they look at their VVMs, it was beyond its use. The middle square was darker than the outer circle. So they discarded the OPV vials. But all the other vaccines, as you see here, they were still usable. Even they were exposed to higher temperatures, they were still usable. So they cleaned the vials and put them back to the cold chain. This is the beauty of VVM. This is the strength of this important tool. Now, I would like to introduce my good friend, Angelica, from Southern Sudan. I met with Angelica in year 2000 in the village of Maportit. She was 5 years old those days. She must be 15 now, if she's still alive. Maybe Angelica has children today, but we don't know whether her children are vaccinated. Now I want you to look into Angelica's eyes. Look at her. Angelica is giving you a message through Neruda's poem.
Look here, look for me, for here I will return, without saying a thing, without voice, without mouth, pure. Here I will return to be the churning of the water, of its broken heart. Here I will perhaps be discovered and lost. Here I will perhaps be stone and silence.